I'd like to start with a short nigun, a wordless melody that my spouse, Chris Wetstein, wrote, and it's called the Lev Nigun, and it's for our son Lev. And I thought this was an appropriate nigun to share as it brings me a lot of gratitude and humility, this sphera of Hod that we are cultivating within the sphera of Gvora today. So you can listen to this nigun. I'll sing it through a couple of times, and you're welcome to join along on mute if you would like to. Hi, 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 yo. Hi, yanda, yanda, yo. Hi, hi, yo. Hi, yanda, da, yanda, da, yo. Hi, hi, yo. Hi, yanda, yanda, yo. Hi, hi, yo. Hi, yanda, da, yanda, da, yo. Hi, yada, da, da, yanda, yo. 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 Hi, hi, yo. Hi, yanda, yanda, yo. Hi, hi, yo. Hi, yanda, da, yanda, da, yo. Hi, yada, da, da, yanda, yo. 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 So as Mark mentioned, today is day 12 of the Omer, and the permutation of the Sphirot that we are cultivating today is Hod Sheva Gevura. So Hod can be interpreted as gratitude, humility, and Gevura can be interpreted as discipline, strength, boundaries. So today we're cultivating this interesting combination of humility within strength. And these two qualities seem like they could be in opposition to one another. And in our world that is so driven by domination and power, we constantly receive the message that Gevura, strength, might, discipline, is superior to Hod, humility, gratitude, submission, and awareness of our vulnerability. And we also project this mindset onto our bodies, the way we view and relate to our bodies as instruments of might or strength. When we get sick, when we're tired, when we're grieving or depressed or anxious, our inner narrative can turn unkind in an instant. And suddenly our value, our worth, which interestingly are both financial terms, takes a hit. Last year, when I was in the first year of grieving my mother's death, I would have days when the grief was more in the background and days when grief was more of the main character. And my efforts to ignore the grief or push through it in the name of productivity, of course, failed miserably. Because as we know, grief does what it wants to do when it wants to do it. And so I would feel a lot of judgment towards myself for giving in to my vulnerability and not being able to, quote unquote, be strong enough to overcome it. Needless to say, this mindset caused me a lot of extra suffering. And I imagine that in these days of so much fear, stress, grief, and pain, many of us can probably relate to this. So I want to offer us another way to relate to Hod and Gevura. That instead of seeing our vulnerability as a weakness, we see it as in service of true Gevura. When we are truly mindful and aware of our bodies, hearts, and minds, and are in touch with what is needed and can meet ourselves where we are at, we're actually drawing a discerning boundary and cultivating Gevura. In order to actually practice Gevura, we need the humility, the submission of Hod to help us accept the reality of the present moment so that we can act with discernment. And when we do that, we may have to break an existing boundary or an existing narrative to make space for a new one that is aligned with the truth of the moment. This is Hod Sheb Gevura in action. The last thing I'll say before we sit is that I particularly love that this year, our Hod day of the week during our Omer count falls the day before Shabbat. Hod seems like a fitting preparation for Shabbat for us to temper the Gevura of the work week with the humility and gratitude of letting go on Shabbat. So with that, we'll sit for a little while. We're going to practice some softening, some gratitude, and presence with our breath and bodies just as they are. And I want to invite you to choose any posture that best cares for your body, heart, and mind. You're welcome to sit, to lie down, to stand up, to walk, to move if that's what you need to do. And if any of the instructions that I give during this meditation are not wise for your body or mind in any way, feel free to modify the instructions however you need to. So let's settle in. Finding a meditation posture that meets you where you're at. And you're welcome to close your eyes if you would like, or you can keep them open with a soft, gentle gaze. Beginning by arriving in this moment of sitting here. Bringing awareness to the sensations of contact between your body and the seat. The floor beneath you. Noticing sensation of contact at your hands, wherever your hands are resting. Noticing the touch of fabric, of clothing on your skin. Noticing the air on your skin. Aware of any other sensations that help you to land in this moment. As you arrive, in the body, resting here. If you notice that there are places in your body that are working harder than they need to right now, seeing if you can allow these places to soften, letting go of expression in your face, letting your shoulders drop, letting your fingers and toes soften, giving the weight of your arms and legs to gravity. Giving your body this gift of rest and letting be. And as you invite the body to rest and soften, perhaps inviting some gratitude for the body, for the hard work of the body in sustaining you, in enabling you to carry on your work in the world. All the different parts of the body and systems that work together as best they can. And if you notice the judging mind coming in, well, this doesn't work as well as it should. I'm not feeling so well. I have some discomfort. You can allow that to be. We can allow space for what is difficult at the same time as we cultivate gratitude for what is well, what is neutral, what is okay. And taking a moment to briefly check in with yourself and notice whatever is alive for you, whatever's on your heart or on your mind. Any emotions, any thoughts. With a gentle acknowledgement of just what's here right now. There's no way you need to be in this moment. Welcoming yourself into this moment of practice and inviting your attention to come to rest with the presence of your body just as it is. Or if you like, you can Let your attention follow the movement of the breath, moment by moment. So choosing to either rest with a narrower focus on the breath or a wider focus on the body's presence, whatever position you're in right now. And then, whenever you find your attention has wandered, you can practice the discernment, the discipline of Gevura by gently guiding your attention back to the breath or the body. So we'll practice silently for a few minutes. You've gotten lost or distracted, caught up in busyness in the mind. It's okay. Meeting yourself with gentleness. And instead of judging our minds for working as hard as they do, perhaps even offering some gratitude to our minds that try so hard to protect us, to take care of us, sometimes overdoing it. We can still offer gratitude to that seed of care and compassion that is in the wandering of our mind. And then gently coming back once again to this moment of sitting in the body, resting in the body, this moment of breath. We'll continue silently for a few more minutes. In the last few minutes of this meditation, I'd like to bring in an excerpt from an interpretation of Hashki Venu by Aurora Levins Morales. This is called Evening Prayer. And I invite you to just let these words wash over you. Let them move through you. Let me lay the work of the world in the open hands of those still awake to the west of me. Place in their palms the sickle and the spade, the needle and the shuttle, the pen and the ladle, the cell phone and the keyboard. Let me lie down in peace as the mending of life rolls west and westward, hand to hand, village to village, through city after city, across fields and forests, deserts and oceans, moving upstream against the planetary spin. For the dance of liberation never ceases, but keeps circling the world. As I lie down, others rise up in a wave of intention and effort that moves in the wake of the sun along the paths of daylight. So let my sleep be cradled in trust that others will carry what must be carried. Taking a moment to invite in some gratitude as this text invites us to invite some gratitude for the benefit of being in community, of practicing in community, of being held by a community that is working for peace and liberation in our hearts and minds and in the world. Taking a moment to return your attention to your body, to your breath for a moment, grounding yourself in your presence. And then as you're ready, you can let your eyes open if they've been closed. And I will turn it over to Mark.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Emily. It was just a beautiful practice. What a wonderful way for us to move together into Shabbat. And we seal the practice. We use our collective Gevura to hold great space, hold space for those of us who are in mourning, or if you have a yard site, or if you'd like to join us in the Mourners Kaddish, you're welcome to do so, and to put the name or names of anyone you're honoring today in the chat now or after we recite Kaddish. As always, if you're not reciting Kaddish, we ask you please stay present for a few minutes to support those who are. Thanks to Harry for sharing the words on the screen. If you're joining me, please rise in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitkadal,
Yitkadal, Shemay Rabbah, V'yamad Yifrach V'yutei V'yigim Chlatz, Kayakon V'yomakon V'Kayakol Yisrael, Shema B'zman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehei Shemay Rabbah Mavarach V'yolam Olam Me'amaya. Yitbarach Shemay Rabbah V'yiraman V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitalei V'yitalal, Shemay Dekudishav V'yibel, Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tishbekata V'nechemata, Da'amiran B'yamal V'imru Amen. Yehi Shalom Rabba Meshamaya Kareim Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mamav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom V'yal Kol Yisrael, Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'imru Amen.
Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael, V'yal Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'imru, Amen.
Friends, thanks for joining us today. And if you're leaving us, I'm just going to put in the chat our lineup of teachers for next week. We'll be here Monday through Friday next week with a wonderful group of teachers. Monday and actually Tuesday are Rosh Chodesh ER. So Sarah Waxman and Beth Hillel will be here to help us move into the new month. On Monday, Rabbi Shir Meir Fight. On Tuesday, Wednesday is Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Memorial Day. That will be led by Rabbi Francine Roston, who'll be joining us for the first time. I'm very excited about that. On Thursday, Rabbi Sarah Brandes will join us from Kibbutz Hanaton in Israel for Yom HaAtzmaut. And on Friday, Rabbi George Gittleman will be leading us a week from today to sit into Shabbat. So wonderful lineup of teachers for next week. We'll look forward to seeing you, hopefully, any or all of those days. Thanks to Harry for holding our space together today, as always. And thanks to our teacher, Emily Herzlin of Malchut Community in Queens, New York, for leading us. And as always, you're welcome just to continue sitting with that beautiful guidance that Emily offered. You can turn the sound off on your device and extend your sit a little bit longer, or you can join us for conversation about the teaching and practice, share reflection on the practice. And you're welcome to do so. Just put a question. If it's a question, just put question in caps in the chat, and I'll keep an eye out for that. And that was just beautiful. Emily, thank you so much. You had me at the Nigun, at the Lev Nigun. This was like so great. That was great. That was wonderful.
I'm glad to get a chance to share that.
That was wonderful. Thanks for doing it.
We used to sing it every night during my pregnancy to my belly. And then when he was born, we started singing it to him, and I felt like there was some kind of recognition, but maybe my mind's just making that up.
You mean that he recognized it?
Yeah, yeah.
I bet he did. I bet he did. Anyway, it's beautiful. It was very moving. Thank you for sharing that and leading us in with that.
My pleasure.
And also thank you for your vulnerability. And that leads me into my question, or at least my observation, without getting too nerdy or geeking out too much about the Sphirot and the Kabbalistic permutations, which are easy to get lost in. It's worth taking a moment, since you grounded today's practice in that, to just remind people what we're talking about here. So this is the week of Gevurah, like you said, of delineation, distinctions, boundaries. Literally means strength or might. And each day of the week corresponds to one of the 7 lower Sphirot. Fifth day is Hod, like you said, associated with humility or gratitude. So what I gleaned, like what I absorbed from your teaching, was that this is a day for considering or noticing or tapping into strength through vulnerability, that through, which seems, like you said, kind of paradoxical, right? We think that, or creating a container in which we can fall apart, right? That falling apart, so to speak, is not actually weakness or a problem, but that actually is like an essential part of being a human being. It's part of the divine parts of being a human being, is the capacity to fall apart. So first of all, I just want to reflect that back to you. I see you're nodding. So,
Yeah.
we're pretty much on the same wavelength of that. The other part of that, and then I'm going to let you riff off that a little bit more, is I've heard the phrase effortless effort for meditation. And it also struck me that that also fits here too, that the effort is the Gevurah, and the Hod part is kind of effortlessness, like letting go of effort, basically, which what makes it such a perfect lead into Shabbat, like you said, these Fridays, right? Especially this, like all the effort that goes into letting go for Shabbat. So that's when I'm just sharing back, and appreciating, what you got. And it helped me say, all right, just holding this pose so that I can I can allow the vulnerabilities to arise. I can let myself fall apart. I can let myself feel all the feelings that maybe I've kept at bay over the course of the week. So thank you for that gift.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, the first part of what you were saying around, the permission to fall apart and our vulnerability as strength. It's all from God. It's
Mhm.
all from God. You know, the times when we're strong, the times when we fall apart, and trying to, deny that that's part of our human experience and uh, bypass it. It's really, it doesn't allow us to develop fully in our
Mhm.
spiritual capacity.
Mhm.
And um, and it's scary. It's really scary. I remember some of those days when I felt really scared by the grief, by the vulnerability. Um, and what I came to learn about it, and what I'm still coming to learn about it, is the power in what I feel I can offer from it now to others from going through that period of grief. I don't, I didn't go into details. My mother died very suddenly and unexpectedly of a stroke, fairly young. And it was really a shock. Um, and then soon after that, several people I knew suddenly had similar deaths in their family, people who had died suddenly and unexpectedly and were going through this kind of grief. And um, I was glad to be able to be there for them, um, and offer them what I had learned about grief through my having gone through it and been with it. And so I think that that is a real strength that we can offer people when we go through our own grief, to be able to
Mhm.
offer presence and compassion from what we learned in our experience with it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all of that. Leigh, I see a hand raised. I just wanted to remind you that we or let people know that we generally we don't unmute in this portion, but very happy to field comments or questions in the chat. So feel free to put it there if you like. Yeah, what you just said is making me think about Jewish ritual around mourning and grief, right? Which does create that container in which people have permission to be exactly as they are, like even before the burial, when there's that period of aninut, of like shock, whether it's like, as in your case, like a sudden, shocking, loss or something expected, that it's a use of gevura really to create that space. And
Yeah.
that's very moving. That's from the macro to the micro. I wanted to ask you a question just in terms of meditation practice, as somebody who was a real, a practitioner of this. At some point while you were guiding us, I guess it was I always appreciate when there's silence and then the teacher, acknowledges, oh, everyone's daydreaming now. Let's bring them back, right? Um, and it's extremely helpful. I find when I'm leading, I always find that too. So like if I'm daydreaming, other people are daydreaming. Let's come
Exactly.
back. Let's come back to our anchor here. But what happens in that moment, which I think always is where like the magic of mindfulness meditation happens, is when we wake up to we're not paying attention, or our attention is elsewhere, not in this moment, or in this body, or in this breath. And we go back to the anchor. Is there's a great example there of gevura, of using that effort to say, oh, I violated the boundary. I am away from my anchor, right? Um, and then what's the attitude that we bring towards that? Is it more gevura, like, I'm a bad meditator. I should be doing better. Oh, I do this every day. Why is that still happening? And what's the inner voice that is coming up? So to me, the inner voice, often we say, and the mantra here is chesed, bring a lot of love and compassion to that. And just come back, sweetheart, to that intention. You're doing great, like you would pick up a toddler who fell down, right? But here it's like the little extra there is, yeah, it's okay to wander off. It's okay to fall down, right? Which is a little bit of a nuanced difference from how we respond to it. But like, that's just, that's actually an essential aspect of the practice that we wandered off. So I invite you to comment on that.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to play around with Hode today is that not only is it okay, but that there is some wisdom in it that we can offer gratitude towards.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I find that a lot of the extra work my mind does, whether it's in meditation or daily non-meditation life, is coming from some place of fear, of trying to protect, of trying to control
Mhm.
um, what happens and, to make things okay. And that's kind of beautiful to me, honestly. It's not always enacted in the way that I would want it to be enacted, but the place that it's coming from, I don't think is fully unwise. I actually think there's some care and wisdom at the heart of that. Um, it just isn't channeled in the way that would actually be helpful necessarily. So something that I think we can play with is not only saying, it's okay, but thank you. Thank you. Thank you, mind, for trying to take care of me. Just not like this right now. Let's do it a different way.
Mhm.
Um,
Spoken like like a mother of a toddler.
oh yeah. Yeah,
So,
my best parenting days, that's the
yeah. I
the
guess
way.
I'm also substituting, based on that, I'm also substituting in for Gevura and Hod there, control and lack of control, right? Of having
Mhm.
both of those things. Speaking of straying from attention, I had wanted to end by thanking Robert again, Robert Goldberg, for sponsoring our today's practice in loving memory of his mom, Estelle Snitzer, whose yahrzeit is today. So, Robert, thank you again. I acknowledged that at the beginning. I'm not sure if you were here, but I want to thank you for sponsoring today's practice, and may her memory be a blessing. In the last couple of minutes, we have Emily want to say, maybe say a few words. For those who are in the New York area, I mentioned that there's a little mini retreat Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4:30. People, it's only in person, you said, right?
It's only in person. Yeah, we do some things that are hybrid, but this is just in person.
Mhm.
And it's really meant to be um, helping us in this journey of cultivation of awareness as we move towards revelation at Shavuot, to give ourselves some space to practice in different ways, in some silence, in some um, mindful dialogue, to listen to what our hearts need us to hear, what God needs us to hear as we prepare for revelation, for wisdom.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Harry. Harry put a link in, so people should know about that, and also just wonderful resources. Malchut is a really special emerging Jewish community in Astoria and Long Island City, Queens. So thanks for all you're doing there as well. All right, why don't we leave it there? As you said, Emily, it's really nice this year that the way things fall out, that today is the day of Hod of each week of gratitude and falls on Friday. And it's a nice little reminder for us to harvest the things that we're grateful for to head into Shabbat together. So I want to invite people, as I did before we sat down, before we began to sit formally, if you'd like to put in the chat something for which you're grateful as we head into Shabbat together. And just add to that list gratitude to you, Emily, for leading us so skillfully and beautifully today. We really appreciate all appreciative of that. I see a lot of gratitude already in the chat from that. So, and to Harry, and I'll express the gratitude as well to each of you for showing up day by day, the beautiful devotion and dedication to this practice. Um, okay, let's end it there. I want to wish everyone a sweet, restorative Shabbat. We all need it. And we'll be back on Monday to greet the new month of ER with Sarah Waxman, and look forward to seeing people then. Many blessings, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.